We'd like to thank Ring Central for sponsoring and making this show possible. Without Ring Central, this wouldn't be happening. Ring Central has been a big part of Telarus for years. In fact, last year was our top booking UCaaS provider. If you haven't engaged with Ring Central and made them a part of your strategy, please reach out to them now. Welcome everyone to another edition of Business Transformations. My guest today is Mr. Jerry Goldman, President and CEO of Select Communications. Jerry, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Adam. Happy to be here.
So Jerry, you've got a fantastic story of building a successful business, but I want you to start out with your first transformation, since this is about business transformations, and tell us the story about how you went from being an ambulance driver to a sales executive.
Yeah, my story is a little bit unique, I guess, compared to some agents in our space. But back in 1998, I'll date myself just for a second. I was working as an ambulance as an EMT, and had been doing so for 5 or 6 years, and decided that I wanted to break into sales. The challenge I had was I had no college degree, I had no formal sales experience whatsoever, so I didn't know where to start. So I decided, and this will kind of date the time of when I was looking. There was dial-up internet back then. And so I went to the bookstore and I got a Sunday paper and looked in the want ads for sales positions. And I found a company, at the time I was working in Northern California, I found a company in Southern California that was hiring by the name of SBC. And so back then they were hiring for an executive sales position, which basically was just an account manager. And that's how they listed it. So it was interesting. I went in and I found it was a job fair. So I jumped on a plane. I flew out an hour and went to the job fair with my resume and my suit, and sat in line with about 400 other people. And I sat in front of the recruiter, and he looked at me and he laughed. He said, unless I'm reading this wrong, you work on an ambulance. You don't have any sales experience. You have no experience in telecom at all. So I can't hire you. So I sat and talked to him for about 20 minutes. And so I'll work for free for 30 days. I'll work harder than anyone else you ever hired. Just give me a shot. So he said, I can't hire you, but our district manager is in our corporate headquarters about half an hour from here. If you want to talk to him, if he agrees to a meeting, great. So he actually agreed to a meeting. So I drove there and I waited in the waiting room of his office for about 3 hours until they closed down, and then he agreed to meet with me, and I sat with him for about an hour. And same story, he looked at my background and laughed. And he ended up hiring me, an offer letter and sent to me the next day. And that was my shot and my introduction into sales.
So already proving your sales chops on the first day, actually before you had a job, not taking no for an answer, you bang down the door, you get your first job, and then grow in sales until you started your own company. And what year was that?
That was in late 1999, early 2000. Actually, I had a transition. I worked at WebEx for a few years first, and then realized I was on the wrong side of the business there, and wanted to own my own thing and do my own thing. So I started my firm in about 2005, 5 years after some experience at WebEx learning the conferencing industry.
So in 2005, you started your business. And something that was apparent to me in our conversation is you weren't setting up a lifestyle business. You started hiring pretty early on, didn't you?
I did. I decided pretty early on I didn't want to just make enough money to go to the beach and do nothing. I wanted to build an actual company. And I realized very early on, when you first start an agency, you're handling the billing, you're handling the commissions, you're handling, training, you're handling everything, you wear every hat. So I realized quickly that I only had so many hours in the day. And I was working, 15, 16 hours a day, like a lot of people already starting their companies. And about 2 years in, I realized if I wanted to grow, I had to hire salespeople. I had to hire people to help me to grow the company in aspects that I couldn't do by myself.
So you built your company, and truly a company. I think you had 14 people before your next business transition was really about 4 years ago. You said that you made a massive pivot in the business. Can you tell us about the change there?
I did. So from 2005 up until about 2015, we really built a conferencing company. We sold WebEx and permanent audio conferencing and operator assisted audio, and we were really good at it, and we were doing really, really well. And I saw a shift in the market and the way our customers wanted to purchase those products, and realized that it was now going to be bundled through UCaaS offerings, like the Ring Centrals, 8x8s, and so on. So I made the decision at that point with 14 employees that we needed to completely change what we were selling and really create a new company. So we decided to move in a completely different direction. At the time, our revenue was great, and the conferencing business hadn't really started to decline quite yet. But I really saw the writing on the wall. And so we went from 14 employees to 7 employees over a 3-month period, just because the transition wasn't a smooth one for people that necessarily had the conferencing background. And I had to start, Adam, really from zero. I had to learn a new business landscape, new providers, new competitive landscapes, which masters to work with, which suppliers to work with. It was a lot to digest, and it was a very stressful and financially challenging 18-month curve for us to get to a point where we were comfortable and knew what we were talking about in this new world.
I would say that's got to be gut-wrenching. I mean, to take your company and completely pivot, especially when what's counterintuitive is you said revenue was going up, conferencing revenue was going up, yet you saw the signs and had the confidence to make the pivot, even while revenue was going up. And so, but rather than tiptoe, you jumped over. Tell me, what were the signs that you saw?
So, we saw a couple things. We do a lot of marketing, and the response to our marketing had dropped by about 50%. So that was the first sign. The second sign, just through conversations with our current customers, asking us about, hey, what do you know about Ring Central? What do you know about, back then I think it was Jive, whatever it was. Or what do you know about these products? I understand we can consume these conferencing products through these products. And so it really forced me into a different mindset of, look, I need to pay attention to what's coming and not be so focused on the income we have now. And funny enough, Adam, within a year, our conferencing income dropped by about 25% from that point. Now, we weren't ready for it by any stretch. I don't want to paint the picture that we were ahead of the curve and we did everything right. We didn't. We made a lot of mistakes, and it was gut-wrenching is a very appropriate word. I had to let go of some really great people, which was hard. I had to hire people that had backgrounds and manage them. And I had no idea how to do that. I didn't know how to sell UCaaS. I didn't know how to talk about cloud services. So we had about a 2-year gap, if I'm being honest, that it was scary. It really was.
So what was your litmus test for letting people go? I mean, half the company, you reduce size from 14 down to 7. What was the test you used to say you're in or you're out?
It was really through conversations and through performance. So, some people were willing to make the transition, if you will, and get educated and learn it. I mean, you think about it, right? So for 10 years, some of these employees had worked with us and learned conferencing and were making a lot of money. And then here I come and saying, hey, we're going to rip that out of here, right? We're going to do something totally different. I need you on board. So some people just, I'm going to ride my conferencing income out. I'm good, thanks. I'm not going to learn something new. Others just couldn't learn something new. And I knew where the industry was heading after talking to our customers and just immersing myself with what these products could do. And, it was the best decision I ever made for our company. But I'll tell you, it was, if I told you how much sleep I lost, you wouldn't believe me. It was the gut wrenching is an understatement.
Yeah, you made some hard choices. In fact, I believe one of the people you let go was your relative.
It was my brother. Yeah, he wasn't a fit for him. We agreed together that it would be a better fit for him to move on. And those are hard conversations to have. And luckily, he saw the writing on the wall too, and he was on board. But when you have to let go of people you care about, we truly do care about our staff here, our employees. I personally care about them. It was probably the hardest part for me was acknowledging that I needed different people to go on the journey with us. Because again, I wasn't interested in a lifestyle business. I wanted to build a company, and I had very clear goals set on what that would look like from revenue standpoints for the next 7 years from that point. And I had to be laser focused to get the right people in the right seats.
So let's talk about that. So your 7-year plan from that point, how are you doing on that?
Fantastic. We're right on track. We have rebuilt the company, including our employees in the U.S. and overseas, over 30 employees now total. And my takeaway was really that to grow a real business, you have to be humble. You have to make some mistakes and be okay with that. but it's all about choices, like we talked about yesterday, right? It's about choices. Like, you have to be willing to live with good and bad choices and learn from them quickly. And we've done that. We operationally have some great people that have put great tools in place for us to scale and grow. We need to get from, a small staff, upwards of 15 to 20 sales reps is our long-term goal here in the next 18 to 24 months. So we have a lot of work to do still. And we are now seeing the fruits of our labor 4 years after making that transition. But it took a long time. And I have very good clarity on where we're going to end up. If we come in at 90% of our targets for our 7-year goal, we're going to be very, very, very happy.
Great. Well, I want to ask you a question I think a lot of partners think about. You, and I mentioned this to you when we spoke, is you really leap the chasm. And by the chasm, I mean a lot of partners we see start out as with that sales rep background. They hire assistants, they hire support, they hire ops. But replacing themselves as the primary lead or sales generator, the rainmaker, is incredibly difficult. And they'll dip their toe in and get stung and it doesn't work out. What advice would you give to partners that are trying to grow that part of their business?
The advice I would give is this, is that it's not possible to scale a business, a real business, unless you're willing to step out of that sales role. And it took me a long time. It didn't happen overnight, but hire 2 or 3 people, work with them side by side. I sold with my salespeople the first year or two just to get comfortable and learn. But really, as a leader, you have to be willing and able to remove yourself from the day-to-day sales and look for people that are exceptional. There's exceptional people out there that sell these services. I have people that are much better than I was at selling. But it took me removing my ego and really my concerns that someone wouldn't do it as well as I would. And I'll tell you what, we closed 10 times the revenue now that I could have ever done by myself. And it's a lot more fun to see other people succeed in their roles as salespeople than it was for myself, because I can see now clearly I can bring 20 sales reps into our firm, and I can clearly see where it's going to end us in the next 5 to 7 years. And I know what the goal line looks like.
That's fantastic. And one of the things you talked about in terms of measurement of a real business is you can walk away from the business and come back in a month and it's better off.
It's a great point. It's so important. Years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer. I couldn't work for 8 months at all. And fortunately, I had built a team that continued to work. And I disappeared for 9 months, really. And our company still grew by 26% during that time. So to your point, you have to find people that you trust, that will work hard for you, and they're out there. I'll say that if people listening to this interview are thinking about it, my advice is do it, because I've removed myself from the day-to-day minutia completely. It was very difficult, but once I did it, our company has exploded because it allows me to focus on big picture initiatives for the company and not be stuck in the small decisions every day.
Got it. So last question, what's next for Select?
What's next? So head down, continued growth. We'll work harder these next 5 years than we have the first 15. I have the right people in place. We have the right systems in place. We have the right partners in place. Telarus has been an absolute blessing for us to partner with. And for this, it's just a scalability. How big can we get it while taking really good care of our people? And we have some really, really big goals that I think we're going to be successful reaching.
Fantastic. Well, Jerry, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. An inspiring story that I think a lot of partners will benefit from. And thank you for your partnership.
Thanks, Adam. We appreciate you very much. Have a great day.
All right. That's all we have on Business Transformations. Join us next time.